There are at least 3 ways to build most EDH decks.
Strong. Fun. Fun.
And mean. Let's look at the strong, fun, and mean ways that I would build Liesa, Shroud of Dusk. And the video starts right now. Special thanks to our Patreon supporters who power our channel. Check out our Patreon for monthly giveaways, exclusive content, and even a starring role in our fan fight series. Link in the description below. Hello and welcome to the day. Thank you for spending your time with us. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. I am Joel. Today we're going to talk about Liesa, Shroud of Dusk, and the 3 ways that I would build this commander. But first, if you would, go down there, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you like the video by the end of it. And if there's a commander that you want me to build 3 ways, leave that in the comments and maybe you'll see it in an upcoming video. Let's jump into this commander. There are a lot of things that I like about Liesa Shroud of Dusk, okay? This fallen angel thing, the black, white, and the 2 colors, I'm a big fan of it. Let's go through this commander. 1 black, 2 white, 2 other for a legendary 5/5 angel, rather than pay 2. For each previous time you've cast this spell from the command zone this time, pay 2 life that many times. So it's always going to cost 5. This commander's never going to cost more than 5, except for life loss, 2 and then 4 and then 6. Liesa has flying and lifelink, and whenever a player casts a spell, they lose 2 life. So we're going to need to gain some life with this commander so that we can cast it over and over again, and we might as well have some redundancy on that drain at the bottom of whenever a player casts a spell, they lose 2 life. For the strong way to build this commander, I want to go with Lifegain and really lean into the fact that maybe we can get some loops going of us gaining life and our opponents losing life. For the fun way, I want to go with an Angel Tribal build that leans kind of heavily into the Fallen Angel archetype with black and white in the colors. And for the mean way, we're going to go with a Drain Punisher style build that has an infinite combo there at the end. Let's get into the strong way. So for the strong way, let's lean into it and just loop some life gain, life drain strategies and see what we can do. Obviously, let's start with Sanguine Bond, 5 mana for whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. If you combine that with Exquisite Blood on the battlefield, 5 mana for whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. You've created an infinite loop of life gain and life drain, and you've just won the game. All right, let's also run cards like Beacon of Immortality. For 6 mana, 1 instant spell is going to double target player's life total. Shuffle Beacon of Immortality into its owner's library. Now this counts as life gain. So if we've got anything like Cliffhaven Vampire, whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. That's nice, but let's take it a little further and run Vizkopa Guildmage so we can use that activated ability at the bottom. Whenever you gain life this turn, each opponent loses that much life. If we're doubling our life total and we gain 40 life, we get to have each opponent lose 40 life in one go. That's it. 6 mana for the Beacon, 3 mana for the Vizkopa activated ability. We're going to be doing this entire build. This is how we want to play it. Now, if we have not been losing life and we're just staying protected, we should run Luminarch Ascension. This is going to be an easy way for us to get a lot of 4/4s onto the battlefield, especially if this card comes down early. We've also got Elenda the Duskrose. So Elenda the Duskrose, Nim Deathmantle, and Phyrexian Altar represent this infinite combo where we can get infinite amounts of 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink onto the battlefield and really start putting the pain down. Let's look at this combo. For this combo to work, we need Elenda the Duskrose on the battlefield, Nim Deathmantle on the battlefield, and Phyrexian Altar on the battlefield, along with 3 mana ready to go. Elenda the Duskrose, when it dies, is going to create X 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is the power of the Duskrose. So Elenda sacrifices to the Phyrexian Altar. That gives us 1 mana, which energy is going to stand in for mana, and 1 token onto the battlefield. We have our 1 mana, we use that, we pay this other 3 and activate the Nim Deathmantle. Whenever a non-token creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you can pay 4. If you do, return that card to the battlefield and attach Nim Deathmantle to it. So that effectively makes Elenda a 3/3 with the extra power and toughness from the Nim Deathmantle. We're going to sacrifice the vampire to the Phyrexian Altar. That's going to give us a mana and make Elenda, the Duskrose, a 4/4. Then we sacrifice Elenda to the Phyrexian Altar. That creates a mana. We also get to create 4 vampire tokens because her power was 4/4, and we've got 2 mana floating, 4 vampires on the battlefield. We sacrifice 2 of those to the Phyrexian Altar, and that brings our mana up to 4, and we're able to activate that Death Mantle again, if we're stacking this correctly, and bring Elenda back to the battlefield again as a 3/3 because the Nym Death Mantle is attached. Notice that we netted 2 vampires. We always kind of end up netting extra vampire tokens off of this loop. Then vampire sacks, power goes up by 1, and our mana goes to 1. Sack a vampire, power goes up to 5. We've got 2 mana in the mana pool now. Sacrifice Elenda. We get 5 vampire tokens this time, and we get an extra mana into our mana pool, meaning we only have to sacrifice one of these vampires that we created that time to make it a 4th mana and make us able to bring back Elenda again from the battlefield, from the graveyard, with the Nym Death Mantle ability. This leads you to 2 things among a host of others, but the 2 main ones that I would focus on are that you can get an infinite amount of 1/1 lifelinking tokens from this, or you can get an infinite amount of mana to put into something else. So with this loop, you can approach it in 2 ways. Perform the loop at the end of your opponent's turn right before you're about to go so that you've got an infinite amount of 1/1 vampire lifelinking tokens that are ready to attack for an infinite amount of damage across your opponents, or you can create an infinite amount of mana on your turn and dump all of it into something like Exsanguinate and just kill everybody outright. I think this is a very strong commander to allow you to really lean into some lifelink strategies and some life loop strategies, being that part of her casting cost is paying life. That's the strong way I would build it. Let me know down in the comments what cards you would add to this build. Let's look at the fun way and look at sort of an Angel tribal build. So we're going to run some under-the-radar picks in this build simply because I want to focus on making sure that we've got all of the gold angels, all of the black and white angels that are available to us in Commander. And so we're going to start with Angel of Despair. It is very expensive, 7 mana for a flying 5/5, but when it enters the battlefield, you do get to destroy 1 target permanent of your choice. Deathpact Angel is cool because it can keep coming back. 6 mana 5/5 flyer. When it dies, put a 1/1 white and black cleric creature token onto the battlefield that has pay the same casting cost, tap it, and sack it. Return a card named Deathpact Angel from your graveyard to the battlefield. So unless they're exiling stuff, you can get a nice loop going. Magister of Worth has some political built into it. 6 cost 4/4 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, starting with you, each player votes for Grace or Condemnation. If Grace gets more votes, each player returns each creature card from his or her graveyard to the battlefield. Or if Combination gets more votes or the vote is tied, destroy all creatures other than Magister of Worth. So a nice little political setup there. You can make sure your graveyard's full of stuff and be like, we can return all my stuff to the battlefield, or we can just destroy everything but my humble little 4/4 flyer. It's kind of a fun political card. Selenia, Dark Angel, 5 cost 3/3 flyer, so not a great return, but you can pay 2 life to return Selenia to its owner's hand. So it's like this infinite blocker that dodges all things, you know. Every time it gets in trouble at instant speed, just pay 2 life and return it to your hand, and it dodges every board wipe, all the targeted removal, anything like that, and it's just sort of this pesky 3/3 flyer that sticks around forever, especially if we're gaining life. Seraph of the Scales is a 4 cost 4/3 flyer for 1 white. It can gain Vigilance, and for 1 black, it can gain Death Touch, and when it does die, it's got Afterlife too, and it's going to leave 2 1/1 flyers behind, which is pretty sweet. Platinum Angel is a 7 cost 4/4. It just says you can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game. This is like a ultimate stall. It's like, well, I might be losing. I'm about to lose, actually, but you've at least got to kill this 4/4 flyer before you can do that. Some of the better angels that you could run in an Angel tribal deck: Karmic Guide, 5 cost 2/2 flyer, pro black. It's got an echo of 5, so you got to pay the casting cost again. But when it enters the battlefield, you get to return target creature card from your graveyard straight to the battlefield. Doesn't matter its casting cost. Avacyn Angel of Hope, of course, 8 mana, 8/8 flying, Vigi indestructible. Other permanents you control have indestructible. Emeria Shepherd, 2 white, 5 for a 4/4 flyer, but it's got landfall, and it says whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you may return target non-land permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. And if that land was a plains that is entering the battlefield under your control, you can return that non-land permanent to the battlefield battlefield instead. Pretty sweet. Linvala is hate for your enemies. 2 white, 2 other flying 3/4 activated abilities of creatures your opponents control can't be activated. And then Desolation Angel. I've talked about this card all the time. One of my favorite cards in the entire game. It was the first major card that I pulled when I started playing Magic, and it sort of introduced me to the world and some of the art style, and this one's just epic. Illustration by Braum there. 5 cost, 5/4. It's got a kicker of 2 white. It's got flying, and it says when it comes into play, destroy all lands you control, and if you paid the kicker cost, destroy all lands instead. Here's my hint. Make sure that you can cast this with the kicker. That being land destruction, it's a very mean way to leave the fun section and go towards the mean section, which is a life drain Punisher build. Up first in the Punisher category, we've got Comball Council of Allocation, and I'm pretty sure Liesa and Comball have had a discussion or two before about how we're going to treat our opponents. 3 cost, 2/3. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, the player loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. Suddenly, you've got these taxes coming in that are going to help you pay for recasts on Liesa. We've also got Vilis, Broker of Blood. I just love how these creatures interact with each other. It's an 8 cost, 8/8 flyer. It has an ability for 1 black and paying 2 life to give target creature -1/-1 until end of turn. That's second ability though. Whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. We have got such a commander that loves us to lose and gain life that Vilis is just going to be extra value every time we're doing what the deck naturally wants to do. We can't talk about a Punisher deck without running Painful Quandary. 5 mana whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player loses 5 life unless he or she discards a card. I hate seeing this card hit the battlefield, even if I'm playing it, honestly. It's just so oppressive, and the opponents have these decisions to make on every spell that they cast. In addition to Liesa having them lose 2 life every time they cast a spell. So mean. We might as well get some cards with Extort in this deck. Blind Obedience is a good version of this. 2 cost, got Extort. Artifacts and creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tap. So it just slows everybody down. We've got a taxing deck where we're taking a little bit of life from everybody all at once until we can maybe get a nice haymaker in. And until then, it'd be nice to slow everybody's strategies down and focus on us gaining life and them losing life. Extorts across a bunch of good cards. I like Tithe Drinker just because it does have lifelink, so it plays into our theme. And I don't see it played a lot, and I wanted to give it a shout out in this video. Obsidat Ghost Council. When it enters a battlefield, target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. There's that theme again. And it says at the beginning of your end step you can exile Obsidat. If you do, return to the battlefield under its owner's control. At the beginning of your next upkeep, it gains haste. So you get that ETB over and over again naturally off of Obsidat just having been played. Agent of Masks is a 5 cost 2/3, but it says at the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses a life and you gain life equal to the life lost this way. Just more taxes, just more drains. That's what we want to do. And finally, we've got Karlov of the Ghost Council. It's a 2 cost 2/2. Whenever you gain life, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Karlov of the Ghost Council. And for 2, removing 6 counters from it, you can exile target creature, which is just huge. Those are the strong, fun, and mean ways that I would build Liesa, Shroud of Dusk. Let's close the book on this commander. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Let me know down below what cards you're going to be putting into your Liesa deck. This is such a cool commander, and I can't wait to build it. I think this is going to become one of my personal commander decks. Past that, if there's a commander you want me to build 3 ways, leave it down in the comments below, and you might see it in an upcoming video. If you want to support us further, we have a Patreon. The link is down in the description below. Other than that, I'm tapped out, and I'll catch you later.